Welcome to Inside the Vandals, brought to you by the Coeur d'Alene Casino Hotel and Resort. I'm Braden Kane.
And I'm Zack Kellogg.
The men were on the road in Ogden, Utah, facing off against Weber State. They were down 4 players due to injury in that game. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. Zach, the women were here at home. Tell us about that game.
Yeah, it was a real back-and-forth battle. Both teams really firing off from 3. Idaho was able to make it interesting down the stretch, though. Our own Micah Hamilton gives us the details now from that game.
Braden, Zach, back to you.
And Zach, the women clinching at least a co-share of the regular season Big Sky Championship. Huge accomplishment for the women this season.
Yeah, a lot of momentum going into this last game in the season against Idaho State. Huge rivalry game, plus senior night for the Splash Sisters. I had the chance to catch up with head coach John Newley earlier this week, discuss what it'll take to beat the Bengals and send the Splash Sisters off right. Welcome back to Inside the Vandals. And Braden, as you saw going to the break, the Splash Sisters playing their final game here in Cowan Spectrum tonight against Idaho State. Rivalry game, hopefully they can go out with a win.
And it should be a very electrifying atmosphere tonight in Cowan for senior night. But as I said earlier, Zach, the men were on the road at Weber State. They got into some early foul trouble, which caused them to kind of tone down the aggressiveness on the defensive end. Our own Harrison Lashinger with the details on that game.
And Braden, Gino West being added to that list of injuries, only 3 players on the bench for the men. It was really hard for them to try and get any momentum going in that game.
It definitely affected them in this game, no doubt. And I had the chance to sit down with assistant coach Tim Murphy to discuss tonight's game with Idaho State. And this will be our last show of the season. We just want to thank everyone who tuned in throughout the season, and a big shout out to everyone who was working behind the scenes to help make this show possible.
Yeah, and big game here tonight, Idaho State. Hopefully we can finish this season off with a win. Doug Taylor with the call. For Inside the Vandals, I'm Zack Kellogg.
And I'm Braden Kane.
And we'll see you all next time.
Thanks, guys. And Zach, Idaho soccer team really fortunate to get a first-round bye in the Big Sky tournament. What can we expect going forward?
Yeah, so finishing the season with the 2 seed and that first-round bye gives them time to rest and game plan. They played Northern Colorado yesterday. Let's see how that game turned out down in Ogden. And Idaho, unfortunately, their season stops now, picking up that loss. It was a great season, but fell short of where they wanted to go.
Meanwhile, the volleyball team has continued their recent run of success with their 8th consecutive win with a pair of victories against Idaho State and Weber State this past weekend. Let's take a look back at those. All in all, successful start to the road trip for Idaho with a win against Portland State. They'll play Sacramento State tonight in Sacramento.
And women's basketball also started off their season. Jordan Smith was there with the coverage. Let's take a look to see how they did. And now joined by head coach John Newley. Coach Newley, thank you for joining us again.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, so 2 more wins on the road this weekend. But first, now officially, Michaela Ferenz, the all-time leading scorer in Big Sky history. Now that she finally holds that record, possibly for years to come, I mean, is it just an amazing accomplishment to have one of your players now progressing all the way to being the all-time leader in history for Big Sky?
You know, you never know when you recruit kids and bring them in and how their careers are going to go. Certainly had high expectations for Michaela, and she has exceeded everyone. To become the all-time leading scorer in a great league like the Big Sky, it's an unbelievable achievement and something, you know, I am certainly proud for her and proud of her, and she should be the rest of her life.
And now, last weekend, first up, you guys had Portland State on the road. You guys were pretty in control for that game. Portland State made some runs now and then. Is that kind of a good win to have before the tournament? Like you guys just kind of execute on everything you needed to do and just kind of held that constant lead through the game?
Yeah, it was huge. Game of runs for sure. I loved our start, got out to a great start. You know, they kind of caught us. We made a couple other bigger runs during the game, but it was a championship atmosphere. They had a record crowd. They were loud. And the intensity was off the charts.
And then now transitioning to Sacramento State, that one was a lot different game. You guys really had to grind that one out. Shots weren't really falling, but you guys still found a way to win. Is that kind of another example of you guys wanting to get one of those wins? You have to grind it out, do everything you can, and still be able to pull it out on the road.
Yeah, it definitely is the word to use, was grind, and it was. You know, it's kind of a trap game. There was a lot of emotion in the Portland State game. You know, it was for first place. They were right behind us. You know, we put a lot into that, and then you know, you go play a team you would beat 104-66 at home. You know, I'm not saying we walked in there thinking we're going to win, but by the same token, we didn't have that same intensity level we had Thursday until, you know, push came to shove then the second half, and we really had to ramp things up. And I think we learned a lesson from that.
And then your seniors, Friends and Pierce, stepping up big in the last minute, in the last few seconds of that game. Friends knocking down the 3, Pierce going to line to knock down the free throws. How does it feel to have your seniors kind of doing their entire career, coming through clutch and giving you guys wins?
Yeah, you know, I have full confidence in both of them at the end of games. Either one, you know, could have drawn the play up for either one of them, and either one can step up and make those free throws. So it's nice for me to have those options at the end of a game.
And so now now coming back home against Weber State. Although they are last in the Big Sky on a 6-game losing streak, they are very good defensively in the top half of the Big Sky. What do you guys need to do to try and figure them out offensively again, like you guys did the first time down in Ogden?
Yeah, it was a tough game down there. I mean, it was so long ago. 2 months ago at least. But they're very athletic at every spot. They're a very physical basketball team. They're going to hold you, grab you, and do whatever they can get away with. And we're going to have to fight through that and do a better job than we did at SAC with that kind of same defense. And really push through physically to be ready for these guys.
And then for Weber State, kind of like you brought up against SAC, although they are kind of at the bottom of the rankings, you guys need to make sure you come in sharp. We need to tell your team anything to make sure, like, hey, no games are gimmies in this league. We need to try and come out and execute.
Well, I think that's something we did learn at SAC, and I think they're going to understand that. There's a lot to play for this week for us, and they have to understand we got to defend our home floor. And like you said, they may be at the bottom right now, but they beat Northern Colorado in Greeley. Which is something we couldn't do. So I think we all understand that they have talent and they're capable of beating us.
All right, Coach Newley, thank you for joining us, and best luck for you guys against Wildcats.
All right, thanks.
And now to take a closer look at Michaela Friends and Taylor Pierce ahead of their last week in Cowan Spectrum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back here inside Memorial Gym, where the Vandals took the first set here against Northern Colorado. I am Zack Kellogg, joined tonight by Jonah Baker. Jonah, what did we see there in the first set?
Well, I mean, it's going to sound really coachy, but one team executed and one team absolutely did not. The Vandals pretty much doubled up Northern Colorado on just about all of the important offensive statistics, 15-8 in terms of kills, and most importantly, 5-0 in terms of blocks. Idaho has been absolutely dominant in phases of the game that they already come to the match with a lot of experience in, especially at the net with those blocks. And they've really been able to do whatever they want against a Northern Colorado squad that really relies on having a remarkable offensive attack to sort of balance things out.
Also, the attack errors playing a huge role here in the first set. Northern Colorado having 9 attack errors, Vandals only 4, really playing a part there in that first set win.
Northern Colorado still at a negative hitting percentage as well. That's definitely something that's going to have to change if they want to avoid getting swept here tonight.
Coach Oates definitely addressed that there, entering the intermission, and the Vandals take a quick lead here, still having yet to trail here in the match. 1-0 very early here in the second set. Wadke back to serve for the Vandals. Serves is up and away. Muff to Lockheed. Muff with the simple hit over. Carmen to Wadke, finding Straw near side. Straw is trying to place it, but great defense there by the Bears. Open to Mathis. Quick touch over by Ryder. Great defense and reactions there, though, from the Bears. Out of play, though, and the Vandals will get another point here, 2-0. Jonah, with the Big Sky being so top-heavy right now, with so many teams being tied for first and second, and Northern Colorado just one game out of being tied for second place, what kind of implications does this match have?
Well, I think if you were to ask any of the coaches, they'd tell you it's just another game, but we are getting towards the end of the Big Sky season, and teams like Idaho are the kind of people that Northern Colorado would have to get through in order to really compete at the Big Sky tournament, which is being hosted in Northern Colorado in Greeley. So I would think that this kind of match is something that is particularly important because it's against somebody who's somebody you're frankly chasing going into the end of the season, and somebody that you're probably looking at as somebody whose tactics you're going to want to copy a little bit.
And a service error there from Else, having a very similar kind of serving style to Hopen, with a high strike, kind of unorthodox, high risk, high reward. Not paying off right there. Wadke with the dig, set over to Straw. Straw just so great at finding the small windows in a team's defense. Else just once again unable to get there in time, as Sharp and Straw are just, frankly, just playing out of their minds right now, playing really great here on the offensive end. Set here from the Bears. Muff on the outside. Great defense there, though, from Hopen. Straw with yet another kill.
Nothing you can do there if you're Northern Colorado.
Was in perfect position, had the hands up on the net. Straw's hit just simply too strong. 5-1 Vandal lead here in the second set. Last time these two teams met, the Vandals were able to complete a 3-0 sweep down at Northern Colorado in Greeley. The Bears trying to avoid a similar match as that, because just a 3-0 sweep is just kind of demoralizing, especially when but once again, Idaho's just being one of the top teams in the conference.
Certainly. There's a lot of I'm sure there's a lot of things that the team not quite in front there for Mathis.
Yeah, Mathis just unable. Great effort there, right, though. Just unable to keep it in play. Another point for the Bears. Bears going on a bit of a run right here. Kadarinsky back to serve. Hoping with the hit over. Great defense there, though, by the Vandals, keeping the ball alive. Set and strike. Hopin once again with a great dig, but the Vandals unable to get it back over the net. 5-4, Bears cutting into this Vandal lead now. Vandals only leading by 1. Kadarinsky once again back to serve. Schultz with the set and the strike there, though, by the Bears, tying the second set up. Muff will with the kill. Kadarinsky once again back to serve for the Bears. Northern Colorado looking for their first lead here in the match. STAA with the strike, though. Els wanted to pull her hands away, though, as you just kind of saw in her face. She knew that one was going out of bounds, is unable to do it. Substitution here, Sarah Sharp and Becca Owens checking in for the Vandals. Owens back to serve. And Jonah, you've been covering the volleyball team all season long. What are kind of some of the improvements you've made from the start of the season to this point where they are now?
Well, what I've seen is that Coach Buchanan has made a very specific point throughout the season of playing a lot of different people. So much has been made of the team having all of these seniors that they can rely on, especially on the front side of the court. But the improvements that have really started to show through are what we've seen, especially from players like Becca Owen, players like Sam Swayze, these younger kids in the back line that are really providing a lot of stability for the team in the back that doesn't have quite as much seniority behind Alicia Wadkey.
Yeah, experience. Always great to try and get players immersed in these kind of environments early in their careers. So that way they're set and can have really potentially great careers for 3+ seasons. Vandals still leading by 1. Great work at the net there by Sarah Sharp. Bears still with it and with the attack. Wadkey to Mathis looking for Sharp. Sharp with the strike, just off the back, though. Bears once again tying it back up. As we kind of expected, this is going to be a very competitive match. Vandals winning that first set pretty convincingly, but this one being a lot tighter and much more what we expected.
Yeah, a little bit more almost the opposite of what we... I was about to say the Vandals are making a few more mistakes on the attack end than they did in the first set, which remains true, but Sarah Sharp, of course, still just as dominant.
Haley Mathis cleaning something up on the court, probably just from the players getting down on the court and just putting it all there on the line. As both teams, as we kind of seen here, not a ton of long rallies, but both teams really just flying everywhere trying to keep the ball in the air. Ryder back to serve for the Vandals, now leading by 1. Great placement there. Can't get any closer to the back line right there. But Lockheed with just a great attack right there for the Bears. Waimayura checking in for the Bears, now back to serve. Owen.
Welcome back to Inside the Vandals, brought to you by the Coeur d'Alene Casino Hotel and Resort. I'm Zack Kellogg.
And I'm Braden Kane.
The women picked up another sweep here at home. Michaela Friends inching towards that Big Sky all-time record. We'll get to more of that a little bit later. Braden, the men were on the road in Flagstaff and Cedar City. How did it turn out for them?
That's right, some difficult weather conditions in Flagstaff, a couple feet of snow when they showed up. Then they went on the road to Cedar City. After that, played a really competitive game. I had the chance to sit down with Coach Don Verlin to discuss those games and look ahead to tonight's game with Portland State. Welcome back to Inside the Vandals. Well, Zach, it's always really unfortunate to lose a player like Nate, but also really cool to still see him honored for all the efforts he's had as a Vandal here.
Yeah, and even though he's not been on the court, he's still contributing in every way he possibly can. And now transitioning to the women's team, they played here at home, picked up 2 wins against Southern Utah and Northern Arizona. Michaela Friends getting really close to that all-time Big Sky scoring record. I had the chance to sit down with head coach John Newley to talk about the wins and also looking ahead to the game tonight against Portland State. Welcome back to Inside the Vandals, and Braden, the women going on the road to Portland State, two powerhouses going at it. Hopefully the women can come out with a win.
Would definitely be a major victory for our women if they can pick up that win going into the tournament. But in other news this week, and in Vandal Athletics, the swim and dive team have their WAC Conference Championships this weekend. Our own Emily Bernil with the story. Up next, Idaho versus Portland State right here in Cowan Spectrum. Chris King with the call. For Inside the Vandals, I'm Braden Kane.
And I'm Zack Kellogg.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Welcome to Inside the Vandals, brought to you by the Coeur d'Alene Casino Hotel and Resort. I'm Zack Kellogg.
And I'm Braden Kane.
The Idaho women played here in Memorial Gym on Thursday, picked up a big win against Northern Arizona. The Splash Sisters were on fire. Our own Delaney Buell with the recap.
Well, Zach, obviously the Splash Sisters on fire last Thursday night. Michaela Ferenz, 23 points away from being the Big Sky's all-time leading scorer. Exciting stuff for the women's team right now.
Yeah, they are going to try and pick up another win tonight here against Southern Utah. I had the chance to sit down with head coach John Newey, discuss what they'll need to do in order to come out with the win. Welcome back to Inside the Vandals, and as you saw going to the break, Gina Markson, in her first season, really performing at a high level. She had 8 points and 7 assists against Northern Arizona here on Thursday. She is really starting to thrive right now in that point guard position.
And always awesome to see a freshman step up like that and continue to do it throughout the season. Last Thursday, our men were on the road in Flagstaff. They were dealing with some tough weather as they got into town, about 2 feet of snow in Flagstaff. Our own Jordan Smith with the details on that game. Well, Zach, let's hope the men can just pick up a win before they travel back to Moscow for some home games next week.
Yeah, and speaking of some home games, Memorial Gym, been a very electric environment for the women's team against Northern Arizona. The band was loud, the fans were electric. Our own Hunter Funk taking an inside look at the Vandal faithful.
And Zach, playing in Memorial Gymnasium can really give our teams a slight advantage with the close quarters and just really intensifying the atmosphere.
Yeah, and coming up next, the women play Southern Utah here in Memorial Gym. Hopefully the home crowd will play another huge factor. Doug Taylor with the call. For Inside the Vandals, I'm Zack Kellogg.
And I'm Braden Kane.
We'll see you all next time.